Hello, everybody. My name is Noah Bank, aka the host of Reality Reboot, as you know. And this is a little bit weird. This is uploaded in the middle of season 2 uploading, but this is also like just barely under a week before Reality Reboot All Stars is filmed, and it will eventually air after season 2 is finished. Um, but yeah, I figured I'd make this now. I'll probably re-upload this again when All Stars officially. Actually, I might not do that. I might just put it in a playlist. Whatever. Point is, this is something specifically for All Stars. If you don't want spoilers, I would heavily recommend you ignore this video until you finish season 2. Until season 2 is at the very least out, because obviously you have no clue what happens, assuming you weren't there or haven't talked about it or you don't follow me, which you should, by the way. But point is, what I'm gonna do today is I'm gonna run down the cast of All Stars and just talk about, overall their strengths, weaknesses, and how I think they're gonna do. As always, this is recorded for fun, and all these people are my friends. I might talk bad about them. I am in no way slandering them. I love them all. Yeah, and of course, these are all the people that were supposed to be in the cast. Some people might not show up, so that might be a bit weird for the final cut. But yeah, just FYI, that's how it is. I just can't predict the future. Also, I will say real quick, yes, Aaron is supposed to be an all-star. Aaron could not make any date that I tried to figure out, so ultimately Aaron will not be a part of the season. But if you really do want to know how Aaron would do, Aaron would probably win. I really haven't put that much thought into it. Obviously, I'm just joking, but yeah, Aaron's a very good player. No slander on Aaron. Aaron should be an all-star, and I would consider Aaron an all-star. Now, let's get into it. All right, where better to start than Mr. Unfortunate himself, Asher. Now, with a lot of the people you'll see from season 2 that get booted early and end up on the season, my excuse most of the time is that they did good in a former season. And love Asher as much as I do, he didn't have an exactly like an exquisite run in season 1 either. Not to say he did bad, he was kind of robbed, but I mean, he still is, I think, the only person on this entire cast that has not made merge even once, which I think works in his favor, actually, because while he does lack experience for especially that part of the game, I think not only is he smart enough to maneuver that on his first time around, if he can make it there, but also he is the lowest threat on the board. And coming into a season like this, being one of the lowest threats on the board is not bad at all. And I really do have faith in Asher. I think he is capable of doing what he needs to do to win the game. He's capable of putting himself out there, making bold moves. Oddly enough, I think one of his weakest games is just his ability to talk to people and make good connections to get him far. But from what I know, he has been working on that just before they've even come over to play out the season. He's been talking to people that he knows is going to be on the cast because we've already revealed the cast. But yeah, no, like I think he honestly has a really good shot here, and if he has a good shot anywhere, I really do believe that it is this season. I have a lot of faith in Asher. I think he can go pretty far. Would I say he's my winner pick? Probably not. I do think Asher can go really far, but I think people are gonna see him as a bigger threat as the game goes on. Say, oh look, this guy's taken out the 4 biggest threats in a row. We need to start getting him out before, he builds this huge resume. And I think that might be where Asher struggles a bit. Regardless, I do think Asher's gonna do really good this season, and I would keep an eye on him. Next up, let's talk about Johnny, the one who's seen it all. If that label doesn't make sense to you, it's probably because you are not one of the people who are a Reality Reboot OG. Johnny has been there for every season. He played Reality Reboot before it was a reboot, season 0, as I've called it. He played in season 1. He's played in season 2, obviously, as you're seeing right now. And he is now going to be playing in All Stars. Johnny is someone who I'm very excited to see. He made runner-up in season 0, albeit I wouldn't say that it was a lot of work for him. He kind of just rode coattails after coming back into the game. But I mean, hey, more power to him. He got a vote to win. And there were only 4 jurors, so he got 25% of the way there. That was impressive. Um, yeah, I'll give him credit where credit's due. He did that. Season 1, he went out pre-merge because he decided it would be funny to cause a 3-way tie when he knew he was on the bottom. Ultimately leading in him getting eliminated by random chance. So yeah, that was insane, and honestly, one of the worst moves of all time. And spoilers for season 2, he makes this mistake again by letting it go to a tie, and ultimately goes home by random chance again. And that is really sad to see. Giving Asher a run for his money in terms of Mr. Unfortunate, because Johnny has only been eliminated by random chance. All right, honestly, thinking about it, like memory, I'm like, obviously he has, because he had a 3-way tie in season 1, but I don't think he's ever received an actual vote to his name. Now, I don't want to get quoted on that because I don't know if it's true for sure, but I'm pretty sure he's never received a vote, like, against him actually. And that's very impressive. I mean, Johnny's a very good social player. I would love for him to be a better strategic player, and he says he's going to be a better strategic player every time. Cutthroat villain, and he never does. And I think he's just too nice for it. But honestly, if we see that side of him, I'm honestly hype. Like, I would love to see that. He has the most experience out of anybody here. Will that make him a big threat? I'm not sure. But yeah, whatever it is, Johnny could do this. Now, I wouldn't say Johnny's my winner pick, but I do have him making it pretty far. I think. So I take a sip of water. Johnny could probably go home early merge again. The way I see it, I don't think he has a winning game in him. The way last time I've seen him, at least. But if he can play that game where he uses strategy as much as he needs to, there's an honest argument for him to win. So yeah, I would keep an eye out for him as well. Oh boy. Let's just rip the Band-Aid off. Let's talk about Caleb. Caleb, love him to death, runs his mouth a lot, and was the very first villain we ever had for Reality Reboot. And after getting voted out in season 2, spoiler alert, whoops. After getting voted out in season 2, yeah, he went on a pretty, not really long, but he did go to social media and start ranting about his elimination and how much he hated the people behind it. Now, granted, yeah, Caleb can say a little bit too much sometimes, and I'm fully ready for him to run his mouth again. But honestly, I think that's why I love him as a player so much. I mean, Caleb he's willing to bring the drama, I guess. He's willing to fight people, and honestly, that's what makes him such a great player. I hesitate to even call him like a villain, because he's not really like always in the wrong. He's just the one that gets loud first, and he's willing to stand his ground and yell at somebody when they're doing something wrong. Now, granted, I'm not trying to say he's always in the right, mind you, and it's a lot easier to make the person yelling look bad. But yeah, Caleb really is an enigma. I think he's very unique. I think I will probably just go in and call him probably the villain. And love Caleb to death. I don't see Caleb making it too far unless he has some tricks up his sleeves. But honestly, if they let Caleb get far, honestly, that's really good for me, because that means better content for me. But more importantly, I think Caleb does have like a strategic brain in there. I think he just needs to get the ball rolling a bit and to not blow up his game quickly enough. I think that's the most important thing to do. And honestly, I'm kind of rooting for him. I think he can do it. I have high hopes. Ruby. Now, this is really interesting, because Ruby is a social queen, and she actually bought her way into the season through the auction, which you'll see later on in season 2. But yeah, that was interesting decision I made. And to be quite honest, not a decision I would have made now. But regardless, if anybody did win it, I'm glad it was Ruby, because after further consideration, I do think Ruby would have made it onto the season anyways. I don't think she would have been one of the first picks. No offense, love Ruby, but she definitely would have been picked, I feel like. Sorry, I'm eating while I'm doing this. That's really unprofessional. But yeah, Ruby is amazing player and really good on social game. She was pretty much one of the only people in the drama team to actually branch out and talk to the other people and like try and make connections. Obviously they were too bro-coded to actually give a damn, but you know, that's how it goes sometimes. I don't know what to expect from Ruby, actually. I know that she's been one of the people studying the hardest for the season. I know she's been watching a lot of Survivor, and you know how to like play the game certain ways, specifically blind sides and stuff. I'm really interested to see what we come from her. And you know, since Aaron can't make it, you know, maybe Ruby will be our replacement Aaron. Who knows? But yeah, I'm really excited to see what Ruby has to bring to the table, because whatever it is, I do think it's going to be something good. Chloe. Wow. Production's favorite during season 2. I mean, honestly, what does her say? She was the leader of her team from the very beginning, and ultimately, unfortunately, came to an end with said team being the first out of the dynamic trio, if you will, to get sent out by Majority Alliance. She went out with 2 idols in her pocket and a vote teleporter, which just makes me sad, to be honest. Yeah, I mean, there's really not much for me to say there. I am really sad that's how it turned out, but ultimately that's the game. You know, and Chloe did do well. Unfortunately, I think all that Chloe really has left for her here, because, I mean, going into this, not only does she lack a lot of her theater front buddies, but she's also lacking a lot in just overall ability to make connections with other people, which I do think she can do. We just haven't seen that. I've seen her do it in real life. I've seen her reach out to new people in real life, of course, but I haven't seen it in the game yet, so I'm really interested to see if she can do that, because I know she can. She just hasn't shown it off yet. I'm really rooting for Chloe, as always. I think she is one of the most rootable people in the cast, by far. The question is, what is she? How is she going to do this season? I don't know. She's a wild card. Honestly, if she can get her footing and she can get a nice circle around her, she's going really far. And honestly, early game, I will swap my winner pick to Chloe if I see her make it past a few eliminations, because I do believe she is that good. You know, not to say Will is a bad player or anything, but I mean, every season needs its comic relief, and Will is gonna be this season's probably. Will is, like, comedically wise, probably one of the best people we've had on Reality Reboot. And, like, even his label, Hands in His Pants, is just a running joke that we had about him complaining about it being cold, and how he had to have his hands in his pants the entire time. Mix that in with him just telling everybody, I miss my girlfriend, man. Like, you get Will, right? And that's not to say Will's a bad player. He made it very far and actually got voted out from a twist, right? Which I think is very impressive. The fact that he even made it that far. But ultimately, this is a game about strategy. Honestly, I see Will going pretty early. Of course, I would love for him to prove me wrong. Once again, it will prove me wrong. That's really good content, because Will is hilarious. But I feel like I didn't see a lot of Will, like, playing his own game, you know, for the most part, the whole season. And I think that's tragic, because I think he can. I know Will probably the longest out of anybody on this cast. I know he could do this if he actually, like, gave a damn. The question is he going to give a damn? I think he might when he hears the prize money. Yeah, no, honestly, I'm rooting for Will. Honestly, I love the man. He also got funny moments besides that as well. I mean, one of the characters, he literally just says, "I like dick." Classic Will. But yeah, love Will. Um, I'm wishing the best for him, man. I hope he proves me wrong. If there was an award for, I think, probably the most slept on player in this cast, I think Sawyer would win it, honestly. Sawyer um, got voted out due to basically a swap screw, where I had the teams be swapped by a redraft system. But everybody just picked their teammates again, but that kind of left Sawyer as the odd man out who had to swap to a team filled with people who were already friends. So Sawyer got kind of screwed there. Didn't really have a chance. Um, but yeah, I I think Sawyer is a really good player, man. Like he won the comeback. He's capable of winning challenges on his own, right? He's capable of backstabbing and lying and using strategy by identifying Ruby as a bigger challenge threat to his alliance and eliminating her, despite that meaning he would have to go back on his word. Um, and honestly, he's very good at social. Like he made the group of friends feel bad for voting him off. And when it came back, he was like, "Oh, it's all good." Like he's a really good social player. Honestly, I'm gonna say it. He is my winner pick for Reality Reboot All Stars. Um, that is something I think will surprise a lot of you. But I really do think that Sawyer has what it takes to win this game. And honestly, I think if he wasn't swap screwed, and wasn't just getting screwed in general most of the time, I think he would have won season two. Regardless, Sawyer does have to overcome a couple things, namely lying when he doesn't need to. I think is something he might need to deal with. But overall, yeah, Sawyer is my winner pick for this season. I think he has everything he needs, and I think he'll have the least trouble reaching the end and getting the votes he needs to secure that grand prize. Camilo, I think the first solo season one player I think we were talking about here. Camilo was the third place player for Reality Reboot season one, and honestly, it was deserved. He saw that his alliance was kind of sinking, and he stuck to his guns till the end, and it got him much further than it probably should have, because once he stuck to his guns, other things broke out, and then other people were getting sniped. And if he had jumped ship, I think he would have gotten sniped a lot earlier than he did. When he stuck to his gun, he stuck to his ally, and ultimately he got third. Which honestly, I assuming that he votes out the right person in the final three, and he won immunity, he actually could have won the game, and I think that's very impressive. Obviously, I'm not talking about in hypotheticals. What happened. But ultimately, Camilo is a very good player. And I do see Camilo making it very far again. Camilo is a strategist at heart. He likes being the bad guy, almost to a fault actually, because he kind of just does things and backstab and betrays when he knows he doesn't need to, right? But I mean, he definitely feels cool doing it, and no offense, it looks cool. So you know what? Screw it. I give it a thumbs up in my opinion. But yeah, no, Camilo's a very good player. I do see him making it very far again. I actually would not be surprised to see another third place finish. Although I hope he gets some redemption in that form. But yeah, I'm cheering for Camilo, and trust me, he will definitely be an interesting player if you haven't seen it before. Because I promise you, don't worry. And on the other half of the dynamic duo of season one, well, one of the dynamic duos of season one, Raymond is probably the most loyal player, and honestly, probably the second biggest hero I've ever had the honor of hosting for. Yeah, no, Raymond is. Well, I guess there isn't a lot to write home about his game. I mean, honestly, he was more so kind of a little bit cocky, but in a nice, playful way. Very thoughtful, very nice. Worked with his allies, had a lot of trust. Kind of for the most part, I mean, they gave him, you know, leverage, and he gave the leverage right back to them and said, "You help me, I help you," right? And that's kind of what I love about Camilo, or not sorry, Camilo, Raymond. Raymond is very, he's just a good guy, honestly. And you probably wouldn't see that in school, but in this game, you'll definitely see it a lot. Raymond actually made the most sacrificial move of all time, which is tying the vote in the final four, knowing that he would go home solely just so that Camilo would continue in the game. He gave up his game just so Camilo could continue on. Now, unfortunately, Camilo ended up going home right after anyways, but I mean, still, that was a sacrificial play that I couldn't have foreseen coming in a million years. And I'll hand it to Raymond. It's impressive, honestly. It really is. Now, I don't know how Raymond is going to fare on this season. I think, honestly, if I had to bet on one person not showing up, it would probably be Raymond. Love him as I do. Raymond is a spectacular player. Obviously, he's an all-star, but I think if he really wants to step it up, I think he should start working a bit more on strategy, because he is very smart. He's one of the smartest people on the cast, I would say. But he needs to start racking that brain of his and start thinking about how to win this game. Because he didn't do a lot about that. He just kind of listened to what other people told him to do. And he would fare a lot better if he listened to what he told himself to do. Alright, it was about time we got to our first winner coming back to play again. Ladies and gentlemen, in my opinion, the best player to ever play the game currently is Adian. And his label as the Golden Boy, I think, reflects that perfectly. I mean, Adian he's everything you want out of a player, and it's why I predicted him as the winner before season 1 even started. Adian has the physicality to win challenges. Adian has the brain to use strategy. He has the guts to use that strategy, let alone just make it. And he's socially savvy enough to actually like maneuver through like certain connections and relationships. And ultimately, one of his biggest connections with Dylan, the runner-up, which we'll get to next, ultimately helped him to win the game. And I could talk on and on about Adian and why I think he's the best player to ever play the game, but I mean, I kind of want to talk about one of the moves that I think solidified it for me, which was during the split merge vote. He found out that he would have a 50-50 chance of going out just to save his ally Dylan, and he knew that if he could build that connection with Dylan, that he could probably go on to win this game. So you know what? He took the 50-50 and he won the 50-50. Ultimately landing himself in the winner spot next to that same ally that he saved. Very impressive by him, I would say. Honestly, I'm very just astonished that he managed to make that work. Aiden will be a presence no matter what. And this is kind of where the sad part comes in. I'll just talk about this now. I'll bring this up for all the other winners, but I don't see the winners making it very far. If anyone could do it, it would be Adian. But ultimately, I don't see most of the winners making it past pre-merge, just because there's a huge target on their backs coming to the game. Like, this is an all-star season. Everybody here is the best of the best, right? And the 3 winners are the best of the best of the best. Like, there's no competing against them. They've won already. So the question is, will they let Adian win again? Probably not, if I'm being honest. Love Adian as I do, but if they gave him an inch, he'll take the whole game. I promise. Don't know why I got something there for a second. I just felt rooting to, and okay, I'll stop. Okay, I know that's kind of a long label, but I mean, it fits him too well. I'm sorry. Dylan is the first runner-up, I think, on this list, besides Johnny, but that was Reality Reboot 0. I don't think that really counts. And I don't think that's to the fault of Dylan at all. I mean, Dylan played a very good game and only lost by 1 vote. Granted, was he a bit too loyal to Adian? Probably. But ultimately, I mean, he was, like, largely, and not to say Adian wasn't, like, usually helping in the brains department as well, but between the dynamic duo of Dylan and Adian in Season 1, Dylan was I think, pretty clearly the brains, and actually kept their threat level pretty low compared to everybody else, ultimately letting them slide by and work their way through straight to the end, where, once again, he lost by one singular vote. Now, I don't think that speaks to how good Dylan is as a player at all. I think Dylan is definitely winner material, and I think he very easily could have won Season 1. Now, why do I not have him as my winner pick, right? I actually have Dylan. I actually have Dylan getting runner-up again. Does that mean I think Dylan is going to be runner-up? No, I just don't think this is going to be his winning season. I think Dylan is, even among all-stars, I think he is an all-star. Which is to say, I think he's definitely, like, at least in the top half of this cast in terms of gameplay. I think he can play this game very well. I think he struggles a bit more than a lot of the cast with keeping connections outside of one person and not knowing when to stop being loyal to that one person, which kind of bit him in the ass. But ultimately, Dylan is a very good player, and he will clean house if you let him. Will they let him? Actually, I think so. But ultimately, I don't think he'll secure the jury votes he needs to win the game. But if he proves me wrong, I'm here for it. And finally, we arrive at Reality Reboot's very first winner, appropriately labeled as the first, Connor. Now, Connor is someone who had a very interesting game compared to the other winners. And I think there is an argument to say that he actually won't be targeted as much because his game wasn't the best. Not to discourage Connor or anything, but I'll get to that in a second. Connor also played on Season 0, which only had 6 people in it, which made it infinitely easier to win than other seasons. And I think Connor has a lot to prove, because I think, he won an easy season, but he's still a winner at the end of the day. He's still one of the best to ever play. And I would appropriately rank him as the 3rd best to ever play, but doesn't mean his game was without its faults. I think it was just unfortunate that he was backed into as many corners as he was because of some bad rules that I made. But yeah, no, Connor was an amazing player. He went on a 4 immunity streak, the longest in Reality Reboot history, in order to win the game in a 3-1 vote. Very impressive. Connor can definitely win challenges, obviously. He has the brain to think strategically, and he can play the social game too. He really is an amazing first winner to have for something like this, and he's honestly the biggest hero we've had. It's just so easy to make him look good. He's the kind of guy that if you hung out with him at a sleepover, your parents would love him. He's that kid, right? So yeah, once again, I don't see the winners making it very far, but if Connor can make the argument that, hey, my season was the easiest, I'm barely a winner, right? Then he can show everybody why he is a winner. Because he is a winner. And he can play this game. And I'm rooting for him. With all these talks about winners and runner-ups, let's talk about the person who I believe is the best player this game has ever seen that has not won the game yet. I'm, of course, talking about Jacob. Now, once again, spoiler for Season 2, Jacob does end up becoming the runner-up for this season. After, honestly, an amazing performance. He was kind of the leader of his alliance. He made most of the calls on who went out. He won challenges for his group, ultimately keeping them in the game. He kept everyone loyal. He, although got angry a bit with the opposing players, he definitely kept his cool and kept it diplomatic, kept it classy, if you will. Ultimately, I think Jacob is a very funny man. I think he's a very smart man. He can win challenges. I think Jacob is one of the biggest starts on the board, probably besides the winners. And I think Jacob might struggle with that a bit because, no one's going to hand him a leadership role like they did in his season. But he might end up taking charge anyways, and if he does, he will ultimately lead that team to the end. How much further? Probably not very far, because he's going to lead himself to the, grand prize. And that's honestly a really good mentality to have. I mean, he's got a game plan going in, and I think Jacob can do really good. And I would say expect very high things from him, because if they do let him go far, he will go far. He will. He'll take every opportunity that he is given, because that's just who he is. It's what he does. Now you're reading that label right. I didn't mess it up. Pierce is the jack of all trades, master of, well, all, really. I don't think there's anything he's not incredibly talented at. You saw in challenges, specifically like Limbo, for example. I mean, Pierce can compete. You know, strategically, he was keeping an eye on the game, had a good idea what to do. He didn't really ride coattails, but what he wanted to happen, right, was also what the guy who was making the calls wanted to happen. Only difference is he wasn't getting any blood on his hands. So once again, when it comes to strategy, he can compete. Social game, he was very respectful to the other team, you know, even offered them a handshake after a loss at some point, you know, ultimately, you know, kept in good graces with everybody by the end of the game. When it comes to the social game, Pierce can compete. And honestly, being one of the younger people on this cast, I'm not sure, he actually might be the youngest person on the cast, right? And also one of the winners. I don't know how he's going to do. I mean, honestly, once again, he is a very big threat, but like I said, he's a jack of all trades, master of all. I can make an argument for any of the winners actually going far, but ultimately, I don't know what's going to play out, and the only thing I do know for sure is that they have big targets going in on their back. But Pierce has the ability to let that target fade and watch as other players battle it out while he sticks to the shadows, kind of. I'm really rooting for Pierce. Pierce is a very rootable person, very nice guy, honestly. And honestly, I would love to see him be a 2-time winner. You know, with all this talk about nice people, we had to get to somebody who was a bit more on the villainous side, and I think Spencer fits that perfectly. You know, as the Godfather, what he said win, and if you weren't with him, you were against him, and he voted you out and dealt with you. And it was a very iron. He led the game with an iron fist for the most part. Early merge, went head to head against Eco, who unfortunately never responded, so I could not bring him onto this cast. Sucks, but oh well. Spencer is a phenomenal player. Ultimately, he takes charge and gets what he wants a lot of the time, usually by force. He is willing to subjugate somebody, like probably not with force, but like with his words, saying, if you disobey me, you're cooked. And that tends to work a lot against most people, because most people don't want to get cooked. But yeah, no, Spencer is a phenomenal player, and he could go far, honestly. Although, to be honest, I do see his kind of attitude maybe getting him a bit of an early boot, but he can make merge if he needs to, right? If he really tries, he will make merge, and I believe he can do it. Can't wait to see what he does. Nikita is probably, as the label also probably implies, the biggest underdog I've ever had in Reality Reboot. I mean, Nikita kind of got scuffed by losing his number one ally at the merge, as well as one of his second closest ally can be removed from the game right before merge. Ultimately, he kind of got screwed over due to that, and it's unfortunate that had to happen, but ultimately that's how the game goes. It was just him against the world, and honestly, he won challenges to keep himself in the game, as well as manipulating the situations and people around him to stay in the game. And honestly, I think he did it very, very well. Obviously, when you're on the bottom that quickly, there's not much you can do to keep yourself in for as long. He ultimately placed, I believe, 7th. But that's nothing to scoff at. Like, seriously, Nikita did a phenomenal job playing the game. And honestly, if he can avoid going on the bottom, he could win. Ultimately, I have Nikita going very far. I think he can make very late game. I think 6th, 5th is honestly where I have for him. Honestly, even 4th is possible. Nikita could play this game, right? He's very smart. He's very strong. He's just a chill guy all around. I think he can, you know, I think he could honestly do well in this game. And honestly, I hope he does well. But yeah, no, Nikita, one of the biggest underdogs in his postseason or his preseason. But I think he has a chance of coming out as one of the best to ever play. So remember earlier when I was talking about Caleb and said how he has a tendency to, not shut up when he needs to? Yeah, forget all that. Braden, makes it to where Caleb can't even hold a stick. Love Braden as I do, but he talks a lot when he shouldn't. However, I know Braden plays these kinds of games online, as do I. And as far as I know, he's a pretty good player in those. So honestly, he probably has, maybe not like in reality reboot experience, but he has decent experience going into this, and he knows how to play the game. Question is, can he, close that big mouth of his to actually make it that far? And honestly, you know what? I don't even know what I'm expecting for Braden. I just want this man to make the basketball challenge finally, because dang, it's his favorite challenge, and it's also the only challenge that he's never gotten to compete in. And I feel kind of bad because basketball is kind of his thing. Luckily, Braden is a very good player, I believe, obviously. I mean, once again, while he does say stuff that he probably shouldn't to the wrong people's face, I mean, he's smart enough to know how to play the game. He's strong enough to win challenges on his own. He's funny enough. Right crowd, he could get in with the right crowd, I believe. I think Braden could go like early merge, I think. Does he and he has late game potential, and he could definitely be one of the first people out. But I think early merge is a good spot for him. Ultimately, I don't see much of anywhere else for him to go. Besides, well, everywhere. I guess it doesn't really make sense, but he's kind of an oddball. I don't know where he's going to go. He's a big player, so he could really go anywhere. I think he's definitely a player you're going to want to keep your eye on. And finally, last but not least, we have Curtis, the licensed funny man. And it is exactly as the name implies. The dude's just funny, right? I think him and Will probably would get along really well. I really hope to see that interaction. But I mean, ultimately, in terms of Curtis's game, there's not too much to talk about. Curtis lost one of his closest allies in Season 1 pretty quickly. And kind of was just like a little comedic relief for the most part until his eventual demise in Season 1, which was sad to see. But ultimately, he is probably one of the most enthusiastic people about playing the game. And I can't wait to see what he does, honestly. I think he'll go very far, and I'm expecting a lot from him. I think he can do very well in this game. Yeah, I think that's about it, I have to say. With that being said, thank you all so much for watching this cast assessment. Once again, this is something I truly put a lot of time and effort into, and while this is a very long video, and I don't expect any of you to have actually sat through all of it, if you are listening to this, thank you so much for listening, and I hope you enjoy this season when it eventually comes out. Bye-bye!